At what stage do you start investing in artists? And maybe you could tell you a little bit about how you were discovered, and I mean, you were really young when you first got your first record contract.
Yeah, I was 18 years old, playing in a local band in Phoenix, and the radio station had started to play our music, and major labels had caught wind of it, and next thing you know, we're signing a big contract, and when you sign a contract that's too big and you don't sell a lot of albums, you end up getting dropped. And then I was re-signed by the same company about 4 years later in a different band, which is it's a very weird, I guess just never giving up, and I've always had some sort of cult fan base to rely on, which is an important thing. It's an important thing. I talked about how it's easier to make decisions now after you've kind of made it a little bit, but it's also wonderful to step out onto your own and I guess not be as reliant on the big companies, though. I think it took a lot of failing to appreciate what a company like Warner, whether it be the publishing or the record companies, can do for you when you're ready to. We're going to keep saying exploited, which I think we need to just we need to erase that word.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
That's my fault. That's my fault.
So maybe you could talk a little bit about it, Cameron, about at what stage you're looking for artists. Are you trying to find the folks who are in a small club or a coffee shop playing a guitar, or are you looking for people who have a big fan base already online?
Well, there's no real one recipe. So we are generally just looking for very talented people who we think will connect with an audience, and sometimes sometimes they have big fan bases, sometimes they have small fan bases. I think one of the things about the company, when you're a company as big as Warner's, is we're dealing with all different types of artists. So, to put it in perspective, at the publishing company, we publish everybody from, the Gershwins to Cole Porter to Radiohead to Lil Wayne to Nate Ruess to Jay-Z and Beyonce and Katy Perry. So, we've got a wide array of people doing a lot of different things. Some of them are current with huge fan bases. Some of them are historic with huge song catalogs. So, there's a lot of nuance to dealing with the various people. But when it comes to finding talent and developing artists and investing in people's careers, we're looking for them at whatever phase they're at. I think sometimes we're very early, and sometimes it takes somebody a period of time to be ready and to be in a place where it makes sense.
Can you talk a little bit about the relationship, how much shaping gets done of the artist? One of the things I've learned about in getting to know the company over the last few weeks is the term A&R. How many in the room have heard of the term A&R? Okay, a couple of people. Okay, this was a fascinating concept. Maybe you could talk about that process and how that fits into sort of working with the artists.
A&R, originally stood for Artists and Repertoire, and really that's the part of the company that creatively works with artists and/or songwriters on the publishing side. But let's just stick to the record side. So that's the side that finds artists, that brings them to the company, that eventually, hopefully we sign a contract with the artist, and then works with them too to get the recordings done, to help them connect to the company in such a way that we can connect them to an audience. So sometimes, again, there's no one size fits all. Sometimes the artists are have a very clear artistic vision and write and perform their own material, and some are not songwriters at all, but have an artistic take on music and what they want to perform. So we may help them connect with songwriters or record producers or songs themselves that people send us. So there's a variety of things that A&R does depending on what the artist needs.
One of the things that I've learned along the way is that it's actually pretty rare to be in a position like you, Nate, where you actually are a songwriter and a performer, that a huge number of people fit into one of those categories, either a songwriter or a performer, and that's where this comes a matching. As a songwriter and a performer, what sort of relationship do you have? How much shaping do you get of your work, or are you given a lot of artistic and creative freedom?
Well, a lot of artistic and creative freedom, and that's, I don't think I was going to sign another contract with a major label unless it was something that I was going to get, because as Cameron mentioned, it's good to have an A&R for someone who might need a little bit of shaping. When I look at a lot of artists, and if I'm critical, I think like, oh, well, they could use a little bit of A&Ring in this department or that department. I think for us, we're a confident bunch. I'd seen the problems that I'd had in the past. Artist development is a very crucial thing, and it's not something that necessarily happens a lot these days. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of bands just come and go, or artists just come and go. They don't get an opportunity to develop. And I think that we, through the trials and tribulations to where I am now, when we'd written and recorded that last album, we didn't have an A&R because we knew what we wanted to do. We were very, to have a specific goal, but that's usually not the case.
So usually artists take full advantage of these type of resources?
I mean, they can be helpful. I had A&R on my first album on a major label 10 years ago, and it was just a disaster. People talking to you about the songs that you're writing as a band member or as an alternative musician or something like that, you look at it a little bit different. I've written songs for other artists, and it's been set up by A&R people. Those songs probably wouldn't happen if it wasn't for A&R. Whereas I'm not looking for any outside help in songwriting, so I don't need that. But when you hear from an A&R guy, and what do you say? When I was making my first album, I was about 19 or 20, and it just needs to be a little more high octane, and it's just. I'm not going to cuss.
Otherwise, we have to label it explicit.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's true in everything, right?
Good A&R doesn't use words like exploited.
Well, we were talking actually earlier today, and we were talking about the good ideas and the bad ideas. So maybe there's good A&Ring out of bad A&Ring.